when Trump says the United States has literally destroyed most everything on Karg Island, just thinking, I've been on a different island than this, around an island in the Gulf. These are flat sand spits in a sense. So what did Trump hit, given that topography?
So what he hit basically was the airfield right here. And then you have things like SAM emplacements in areas like this, so surface-to-air missiles, and also potentially artillery and other areas like this. So these are the kinds of things that they would go after, and these are the target sets that an island like this would have, because what you're talking about here, Aaron, is an island that handles about 90% of Iran's oil exports. So it's basically a transshipment terminal, and what he's doing here is he's taking out the military aspect of this, and that's why the target set looked like this.
All right, so, and as you're pointing out, not everything, some of this is just going to be pure oil infrastructure,
right,
which they didn't take all of that out. I know that they'll say a lot of that is vital to the IRGC, but also would have civilian use. So what are the biggest targets left? I'm just looking at some of those circles that look like oil storage.
Right, so that's exactly it right here. So what you're looking at here is like this oil tank farm. In this area right here, this is an area where he could absolutely hit that. Then the other thing that you have are these jetties right here. So all the ships that come in, all the tankers that come in, they would use these jetties in order to unload the oil and then take it out of the area into the Persian Gulf from Karg Island all the way down through the Strait of Hormuz and then out to be exported to various other countries.
Okay, so now just looking at this, by the way, I'm just looking at Karg Island and the fact that it's high up. Right, some of these other ones that I was talking about were down here, right? So it's far from the strait, but it's up near where the oil terminals, where they're going to be doing exports from. So Trump has not ruled out, and is obviously there's been a lot of talk about the Marine Expeditionary Unit, right, and whether that would play a role in potential boots on the ground. But he's very much been open to seizing it all together.
Yes.
Okay, what does that look like from every perspective, but also given where it's located all the way up there?
So if, let's say, it's the Marine Expeditionary Unit, they would have to come through the Strait of Hormuz or be airlifted into a place like Saudi Arabia or Kuwait and then go after Karg Island. Now, let's take a look at Karg Island. They would come in here. These are the jetties that we talked about earlier, the airfield right here. They would probably do something like move into an area where they could take over the airfield, potentially take over this area because they could use it as a landing craft area for U.S. or Allied landing craft, and they could also potentially move in from this area to come into the beach this way, and then they would basically have a landing field. So kind of think a smaller version of Normandy and D-Day.
That's what it sounds like, because I mean, if you're saying they destroy the airfield itself,
right?
Right. So this would have to be a water approach.
So, and when you look at the airfield, this is exactly what they did here. So they took out headquarters buildings, and they also ended up what we call cratering the runway. So what they did is take out the areas right here so that aircraft, when they taxi, they can't taxi the full extent that they need to take off, and they certainly can't land on a shorter runway like this. So that's what they ended up doing in this particular case, and it was highly effective from a military standpoint.
Right, and I guess so now it's unusable for now, at least for Iran.
Iran, will it be necessary to use even a limited ground force to secure whatever nuclear material remains in Iran as part of that threat?
Yeah.
And secondly, have you made a decision?
You mean to go in and get it?
Yes, sir.
Why would I tell you a thing like that?
And secondly...
You know, I can't say to reporters, sir, will you attack Karg Island? Will you occupy Karg? They ask me these questions. And I don't want to be mean, but they're stupid questions. If any president answered those questions, they shouldn't be president. We had low gas prices. Everything was good. And I know exactly. I know what, you're going to do it, and people are going to raise the price of oil, and that's good. But I know that. But that's a very small thing compared to allowing them to have... You want to see a stock market go down? Start letting them hit you with nukes, okay? I think, I said it this morning, I think it's a very small price to pay. And frankly, I thought it was going to go down much more, if you want to know the truth. I assumed that it was going to go down much more, only because people don't understand to a large... It's a big chess game at a very high level. It's a very high level chess, the highest. And I'm dealing with very smart players. These are smart people. They don't get there. You know, when you deal with some of these people, you're dealing with high level intellect, very high IQ people. These are not Jasmine Crockett and her group. These are smart people. These are really smart people, and violent people, and vicious people, and some very nice people. And some are very nice but violent. They turn violent. But you know what? If I didn't do what I did, we would have been hit. Number one, very important, was the termination of Obama's horrible deal, and number two, this beautiful plane hitting them 8 months ago, whatever it was, and taking out their nuclear capacity. That totally threw them for a loop. And if these gorgeous B-2 bombers, give me that bomber, Andrews. Let me just hug that little sucker. Give me that bomber over there. Thank you. You knew immediately which one. This looks small, but in person it's very big. Because it's the only plane capable of carrying a 200,000-pound bomb. So I don't know how they do it, because it's very sleek and nice, but it carries a lot of weapons and there's a lot of bombs. Our military has been amazing. We hit Carg Island. Took out every single thing in Carg Island except one thing. We left the pipes, because if we take out the pipes, it takes a long time to build them. And at some point, something is going to happen that's positive with respect to those pipes. But there are some countries that greatly disappointed me. As you know, we attacked Carg Island and knocked it literally, destroyed everything on the island except for the area where the oil is. I call it the pipes. We left the pipes. We didn't want to do that, but we will do that. We can do that on 5 minutes notice. It'll be over. But for purposes of someday rebuilding that country, I guess we did the right thing. But it may not stay that way. Just one simple word and the pipes will be gone too, but it'll take a long time to rebuild that.
播报新闻是我的日常，必须时刻保持妆容和皮肤的最佳状态。当来到人生中最重要的时刻，也是 KS 逆时奇迹帮助我轻松驾驭，闪闪发光。KS 逆时奇迹活肤露全效精华、精华霜，多达5种 EGF 6大冻龄关键成分，保湿效果让我非常满意，小细纹也不再困扰我。我就是我自己的最佳女主角。KS 让我从容自信，光彩动人。我是我人生中的大女主，我的最爱我做主。KS 逆时奇迹系列热卖中，下单请上快点购，透过中天新闻网 App 下单立减50，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。